Hello and welcome to this revision lesson on money management and numbers. Because we've got numbers, we're looking at things like ratios and proportions and percentages and fractions.
Right. Now, as you can see, this is a bit wieldy, so we need to take each part separately. And one more thing, the numbers in brackets are the marks, the numbers in square brackets are the marks allocated to each section. So you got 2 and 1, and what else is that? 2 and another one, we're missing one somewhere. Okay. Section A. Now, she pays no tax on the first £10,000 of her £40,000 income, and she pays 10% of the next £10,000, and then she pays 25% tax, that's 25 is a quarter, on the rest of her income. The rest, in this case, being 40,000 minus 10,000 minus 10,000, and that should give us 20,000. So, for the first £10,000, she pays nothing. For the next £10,000, she pays 10% or 1/10 of £10,000, and that's £1,000. And now for the last £20,000, she pays 25% or a quarter of the rest of her income, which is £20,000 in this case. So if you add 0 to 1,000 to 5,000, we get £6,000, and that's a total tax bill. Okay. Now we're now required to express £6,000 as a percentage of £40,000. So we divide 6,000 by 40,000 and then multiply by 100, and this gives us 15%. Now note, if we were asked to show this as a fraction, then there would have been no need to multiply by 100. But in this case, we are asked to show the result as a percentage, hence 15%. Okay, here we are told that her rent for this period is £10,800. So we know what the tax bill is, we know what her rent is. We now want to find out how much she spends on some bills. We don't know what that is. So if we call that X pounds, so in effect we have 40,000 minus 6,000 minus 10,800 minus X. Now that gives us £12,000 net. The X is what she spends on bills. Now, simple algebra here. If we move X to one side, that will change X to positive, and if we move 12,000 to the left hand side, the sign will also change, and that becomes minus 12,000. So X is equal to 40,000 minus her tax bill, 6,000, minus her rent, minus her net income. So she spends £11,200 on bills, whatever the bills are. Okay. Right. Now, of her £12,000 remaining, she decides to spend, for every £8, she spends £5 on shopping. And then she puts away £3 in her bank account or under her mattress or something. Alright? So the ratio is 5 to 3. So that means there are 8 parts altogether. So we need to divide 12,000 by 8. So each part is £1,500. Now note that all the parts are equal. Very important. Now 5 of those parts she spends on shopping. So 1,500 times 5 is equal to 7,500 pounds. And she saves 1,500 times 3, and that gives us 4,500 pounds. Now to check if we are right, we have to add 7,500 pounds to 4,500 pounds. And hopefully we should get 12,000. And I've checked and that's correct. Okay. Now next we are asked to show her savings, which is 4,500 pounds, as a fraction of her income. So if we divide 4,500 by 40,000, we get 9/80. Now, this is a fraction, and if we were asked to show this as a percentage, we would have then multiplied this by 100. But in this case, we are asked to show our result as a fraction, and 9/80 is correct. Okay. For the current period, she pays a rent of £10,800, an increase of 25%. This, in effect, is 1.25 units, if you like, or 1¼ units. So 1.25 units will cost £10,800. We now want to find the value of 1 unit. Okay? So we divide £10,800 by 1.25. However, there is another method for doing this. If we assume that, we know that 1.25 is the same as 1¼, and there are 5 quarters in 1¼, so if we divide £10,800 by 5, we get 2,160. That, in effect, is the value of a quarter of a unit. Okay? Right. So for 1 whole unit, we multiply 2,160 by 4. And that will give us the value of 1 unit. That will tell us how much she paid in rent in the previous period. So in this case, 2,160 times 4 will give us £8,640. And that's the answer. And that's it, folks. I hope that makes sense to you, and hopefully you have a look at the website and let me know how you feel about it. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.